Today, we're checking out a $1 million cottage with Limor.
Come on in, guys. I'm so excited. Welcome. Very high ceilings here. Again, the open concept feeling. We really wanted a modern twist on like that cottagey feel. We're planning out at least probably 8 months away. So on a monthly basis, expenses are $3,500, so $3,500. What? It costs $42,000 a year to run this place? Dun-da-da. That our annual income this year were way more than an average Canadian income.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here. Do you guys remember that time I took a road trip to tiny Ontario and we checked out some really cool Airbnb cottages with Limor? Well, if you didn't, you're in luck. And if you did, you're also in luck because we've got a compilation video with Limor where she's really going to be breaking down her Airbnb cottages, some of the rent-to-own stuff, private financing and private lending that she does. And really just, we thought, we're having so much fun with these compilation videos, why not keep making them? And so we put together all the best highlights from our time with Limor. But what I want to hear from you guys is in the comments, who else should I make a compilation video of? Let me know, smash the like button, and let's jump into today's video. Today, we're checking out a $1 million cottage with Limor.
Come on in, guys. I'm so excited. Welcome. Of course, no cottage is complete without the Muskoka chairs right outside, but let's go on in here. Now, what you should know about this place is we designed it from the very beginning and natural light was really important to us. So what you'll see as you come in, peering right through, is the massive cathedral ceiling that we've got. So you can take a look right through the property. So come on up, let's go up here in the main area. And I can say to you, this place, not only picture perfect, but experience perfect. And this is the reason why so many people choose to stay at this property, because you can bring your family, you can bring your close friends, and there's lots of space for you guys to be able to hang out and spend time together. So come on in and you'll see the very high ceilings here. Again, the open concept feeling. We really wanted a modern twist on like that cottagey feel, you know, get away from the city. But we've got the beautiful couch area and one of my absolute favorites, which is this.
So Limor, this is a vacation rental.
Yeah.
So obviously you make tons of money in the summer and then that's it. You make no other money, right?
Well, it is an absolutely beautiful summer cottage, but you would be surprised that actually our third highest income month is actually December, because what's neat about this, and I'm sure we saw it in the pictures earlier, there's the gorgeous fireplace, the big windows in the back, and when you're here in a snowfall, it's gorgeous. We're about 30 minutes away from some awesome ski resorts and opportunities, and so a lot of families actually even like to get together in the winter, renting out Christmas, New Year's. Like, people pay an absolute premium to be able to kind of have a staycation, but an upgraded staycation for the holidays.
And do you see those holidays spilling over into other smaller holidays like Thanksgiving or Easter? 100%.
So we're planning out at least probably 8 months away in terms of like putting together the dates in the sense that like they're strung together, so you can't just do 2 nights on a long weekend kind of thing. So, you know, we've got October coming up, Thanksgiving, you know, that one was the sole weekend that was booked a long time ago, and then, you know, the November 11th happens to be Remembrance Day. Some people get it off, it's a Monday this year, snap them together. Same thing, Family Day, March break, like anytime people are really looking to get away, we definitely jack those prices up. And one of my absolute favorites, which is this fireplace that of course we had to have custom made because we wanted it to be really large and really significant, because it's great in the winter, right? In the summer we've got the beaches and the sand pits and all that fun stuff, but in the winter when you want to just kind of cuddle up, this place is completely magical. Now as you walk through here, as we're filming this video today, I'm here with a couple of friends, so there's a few things that you'll see out that aren't typically out here. So for example, here we've got this infrared jade heating pad, which is really something that we do for rejuvenation, engaging our parasympathetic system. But this is all the stuff that we use for our health. We've got lots of locked closets. I shouldn't say lots, but enough space that we can take the things that are near and dear to us and we don't want the renters using and being able to put it away. Now, as we go through here, actually on the wall that I just passed, we have the temperature gauge. So that's one of the things that we have so that we can actually be in charge of what's happening at the property. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, we can modify that. We've got security cameras out front and out back so we can tell when people are out. If they didn't cover the barbecue, we can pop them a quick text message. But come on outside, because this is where you're just going to fall in love.
So this property sleeps how many?
So 16 in proper beds, and then we have quite a few air mattresses on top of that. So probably over 20, 24 if you're pushing it.
Wow, so it's a nonstop party house. You're constantly patching drywall holes, and there's kegs here. And
well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know a lot of people are really afraid that all these things, especially short-term people, aren't going to care. But what's really made a huge difference, I think, for us is that, you know, in our copy we say mature groups only. My fiance Andy, who manages this, the majority of it, he is absolutely amazing at setting the tone and setting the level of communication. So he's always responding, he's being very proactive. You know, he's finding out if we've had some groups where the majority of the people are 19 or 20, because that's happened, right? They can have accounts on Airbnb. He'll actually come up and be here in person and ask that everyone arrives together, and he gives them a tour and a, you know, polite and welcome but stern talking to, saying like, this property better be in the same condition as it is right now. And with the pre-screening, I mean, we've had a couple broken chairs. We've probably had over 1,000 people come through this house in the last year, and a couple of broken chairs is really not a big deal.
Very minimal.
Very minimal, especially, you know, when we look at the profit that we're generating, but we're consistently reinvesting and upgrading the quality of the furniture and new add-ons so that when people step in and it's a high-end, pristine environment, they're pretty respectful, you know. They're not going crazy. We've definitely had a few incidences where the house was a lot dirtier than maybe we expected, spilt alcohol and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, anyone who thinks that you shouldn't do Airbnb because of the damage, I definitely don't agree.
Yeah, and so the keys really is you've set expectations both with your communications and just kind of the level and quality of amenities you've provided.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have a 24-hour noise bylaw, which I actually think is an absolute blessing because it's a community here. So, you know, we're very forthcoming about that. You know, we've actually had a bachelor party where they said it was going to be more low-key, but then, you know, far in advance they were reminded that there was a noise bylaw, and they were like, okay, actually we're not going to do this. So it really enables us to keep things really under wraps and really respectful, because it is a family-oriented area. Come on outside, because this is where you're just going to fall in love. This is just the heavenliest piece of the whole property, is the beautiful, majestic nature that we have. And we're pretty fortunate because over to the side there is a trail, and it carries on around the back, so it's all protected for us and creates a lot of privacy, which is really nice, especially when you have a lot of renters, and sometimes they can be not really quiet. But outside here, we've got this beautiful, massive deck. We've got a barbecue on natural gas. I don't know, people ask that all the time. Do I need to bring propane? It's like one of those funny FAQ things that you wouldn't necessarily think of. And what's really unique, if you want to take a look over here, is that we have actually turned the backyard into a bit of a beach. So we had a lot of sand brought in. It's a bit unconventional, but it's perfect for our volleyball net, for the target that's out there, for the fire pit, for the hammock that's around the side. It just gives you kind of that nice summery feel instead of just the grass. So we have a lot of folks really enjoying the outdoor experience. Now, of course, one of the things that everybody looks for in a home is a big kitchen. So come on, I'm really excited to show you this kitchen.
All right, now it's time for the numbers.
Yes.
That's what everyone wants to know. That's what everyone wants to see. They love the beautifulness. How could they not?
It's gorgeous.
But can you actually make money off of this? Especially when
So let's start with the expenses, because everyone's like, okay, how much does it cost to even have a property like this? So on a monthly basis, expenses are $3,500, so $3,500. And I know some people are sneaking ahead. They're looking, they're like, what? It costs $42,000 a year to run this place? That includes our mortgage, our property tax, insurance, hydro, all that kind of good stuff, and cleaning, because I know you said we got to have somebody else supporting with the cleaning here. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the expenses, it does add up, but a little bit of a sneak peek, it's still totally worth it. So we rent this property on a nightly basis, obviously. Traditional property, you got a family there, you know that you're having the same rent every single month. But with an Airbnb, it totally fluctuates, and there's a huge difference on a nightly basis. So nightly rent, and this is a pretty significant range, we've got anywhere on the low end of $350 for a night, all the way up to $1,400. And you've got some expertise in this, so I'm going to let you guess. When do we tend to have lower amounts or higher amounts?
So I think it's pretty safe to say, and a lot of people would agree with me, that this is going to be great in the summer.
Yes.
It's fantastic right now. It's September when we're shooting this. Still great weather. And beach is just like right over there or somewhere in that direction.
Just over there. The water's a couple minutes away. Yeah.
And so obviously summer is going to be peak, right? That's July, August.
Totally.
And winter will be your worst months.
So what's interesting about it is we are actually not too far from some very large ski resorts. So what we didn't realize when we were first converting this into an Airbnb is that December is actually one of our absolute highest months. And in January and February, people still want to sneak away. They want to be able to go skiing. So we actually are able to charge quite a premium, I would say, at the peaks of summer and the peak of winter. So it's really more those like odd months, like November's a little bit bizarre, April's a little bit bizarre, early May, when people aren't sure if it's warm weather or a continuation of winter. But I mean, to give you a bit of a sense, like the Canada Day long weekend this past year was 3 nights and we made $4,000. So it's insane to think about it. Yeah, definitely.
But I guess when you're looking at it from the people that paid $4,000, like, do you know how many people stayed here?
Yeah, so typically we rent to 16 people is the package, and a little bit of a sneak preview of what's to come. And then if they have more than 16 people, we'll usually charge a little bit extra per person, because there's more usage of the property. We definitely get funny requests. Like someone messaged us the other day saying they want to have an 80-person wedding here next summer. We're like, no way, that is absolutely not happening. But yeah, July, August, and December are our 3 biggest months, and then we play with the rates kind of as we get closer. So let's say we're looking right now, we're in September, all of September is booked every single weekend, a couple of weekends in October, and so as we get a little bit closer, because people don't tend to book too far in advance, we have like the odd booking that's like 6 months out, but then we sort of tend to play with the rates to see what's going to take and what's happening with the weather there. But
how active are you guys with like playing with the rates?
We definitely check in on it. It's not like every day, like what are we going to do? But you know, we're keeping an eye, trying to ensure that we've got bookings about 6 weeks out. We definitely have some last minute bookings, especially we had a couple in the summer. People were messaging, they're like, okay, what 2 days of the week can you sneak me in? But I would say the majority of the bookings is about a month to 6 weeks out in advance. So, you know, you're looking at this range, you're looking at these expenses, and you're like, holy crap, is this thing actually going to cash flow? And I'll share with you,
Okay, one of the questions I get all the time on my YouTube channel about Airbnb is, what about the taxes?
Well, newsflash, we live in the best country in the world, in my opinion, and you know what? You only have to pay tax if you make money. So people ask me about this all the time. You know, if you've got an investment and you're making 2% return, you're paying this much in taxes, and you know, it's great because you're not paying taxes, but you're not making money, right? If you're making 20% return, you got to pay more taxes, but you end up with more money in your pocket. So, you know, I really like to have that be a secondary factor when you're looking at strategies. I mean, some strategies are more active income or passive income, and I'm not an accountant, but you know, I suggest people talk with one. But overall, I mean, I'd rather make as much money as possible, and if I got to pay taxes, great. Now, of course, one of the things that everybody looks for in a home is a big kitchen. So come on, I'm really excited to show you this kitchen. I get to do a lot of cooking here, but I know our guests do as well. In fact, all of our pots and pans are extra large. Imagine having 16 people here and then needing to feed them. Well, luckily you can feed them at this massive table that seats 16 people, and then come on through here to part of the home that's really, really beautiful, the kitchen. Now, with the kitchen, there's actually quite a few things that we keep stocked on a regular basis for Airbnbs that I don't know if they all really included. Things like we've got all the oil, salt and pepper, sugar, napkins, all of that kind of stuff, and of course tons of cutlery and crockery, because if we're going to have that many people, we've got to be able to accommodate that kind of experience for them. So this is a very well used place. We make a lot of clarifications around how to use the fan. We've actually got an extra large microwave that's over here in the laundry room that they are welcome to use. But in the back here, stay away. So, you know, you're looking at this range, you're looking at these expenses, and you're like, holy crap, is this thing actually going to cash flow? And I'll share with you, dun-da-da, that our annual income this year, we're expecting to exceed over $90,000. I know, it's like way more than an average Canadian income,
so,
right?
Like, for perspective, I'm literally in the process of buying a 11-unit building, and the gross rents on that 11-unit building, I believe, is around $100,000.
Well, maybe after this conversation, you're going to reconsider a different strategy. But yeah, I mean, like our highest paying month, July, is $19,000. August at 15. December last year was 15. So it adds up really quickly. Obviously, the like November and April's, you know, it's just a few thousand here and there. But you know, if you've got the tenacity and you're planning, right, and you smooth out all the expenses, I mean, it's absolutely worth it in terms of what that looks like. So I know our smart mathematicians are already calculating that the profit on this property is almost $50,000, and that's just what our projected is. This doesn't take into account some of the additional bookings that we might still be getting, you know, in the last part of this year, or people kind of sneaking through. Now, I mean, we're only about a year into this, but it's such a unique property. It's such a unique location that has the best of summer and also the best of winter. And so as a result of that, coupled with the fact that we can sleep so many people, it actually ends up being very economical for the people who are staying here. If you've got 16 or 20 people and you're paying $1,400 a night, I mean, and you're sharing it, you've got families that are here, they get an amazing getaway, they get to all be together in a big open concept space, and it's very economical for them. So there's some unique features that really, you know, beautifully in a bow ties this as a property together for us.
I love it, and I love the profit number. And one thing that the numbers don't even show here that I think we need to take into consideration when looking at vacation Airbnb rentals is there's also some like personal benefits.
Oh, so this does not include the fact that the mortgage is being paid down by all these wonderful renters. The property is appreciating. We're continuing to do upgrades on a consistent basis. And what's crazy, in July, which was such an amazing income generating month, we were up here for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. So we are both completely virtual in our careers, myself and my amazing fiance. And so we'll often drive up on a Sunday, especially in the warmer months. We'll stay till the Friday. We'll both, you know, be working, generating income, supporting our own clients, and we get to be in this absolutely beautiful space. So not only is, you know, it a generator of significant profit, but it gives us the opportunity to have an amazing lifestyle and have people like you up to stay over and mastermind and really enjoy.
Yeah, I love it. This is amazing.
Yeah, you want one of these in your portfolio.
I really do now. Landlords are familiar with the idea of tenant swag on my YouTube channel. What sort of Airbnb swag do you get, especially in such like a beautiful, nice home, tons of people coming?
Yeah, so it's actually a bit of a treasure hunt every time we come back, because people leave things in the cupboards, and we never really have anyone coming back asking for things, but there's been sweaters and clothes, some junk jewelry. We've gotten, a really nice boombox that was left behind, lots of lawn chairs, and every time we come, I'm like excited to run and open the fridge, because people, obviously they're coming 16, 20 people. You open up the fridge and they bought a ton of stuff. So they've always got leftovers. We only ever touch anything if it's never been opened. Of course, we're not like, oh, here's half a peanut butter jar. But it's really, really fun. And one time we even found a $50 bill in making one of the beds. So we're like, cha-ching.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But in the back here, stay away. That is the garage. So that's one of the areas that's very much off limits for our renters, especially because we have our own sports equipment, our own ATV. Although we hide the keys, there's no insurance that's going to allow people to use it. Sometimes they sneak in, they're like, ooh, how can I go for a ride? That's absolutely not the case. No one's going on that ride. Now, this floor actually has 3 bedrooms, and the downstairs has 3 bedrooms as well. They each have either a king bed or a queen bed. So I'll give you a glimpse. Here's what they look like. And at first glance, you may say, hey, Limor, that feels a little bit empty. But the truth is, people are just coming with all their own stuff. They're not necessarily needing to have little trinkets and shelves and extra things to get dusty. So we've got high quality mattresses. We've got lots of extra blankets in the closets. We've got nice little nightstands that allow people to just kind of, put their phone and a little drink. But we don't want too much space for them to tuck their stuff into drawers, because trust me, they're going to leave it behind. So we've got, like I said, 6 bedrooms that look like this. We've got the bathroom that's coming up, and this is where we are actually able to gauge the temperature of the house. So as many things as we can either control or support our renters from virtually. The apps on our phones allow us to really be the kind of super hosts that we want to be and the kind of experience we want to provide. So come on through. Here's a bathroom. No one in here. Whew. Come on in here. And the reason why I want to share this with you is a couple of things, because little house rules. So, we're on a septic system here, so we just want to communicate that. In the corner there, we've got a little night light, which at first, we thought, hey, when we were staying here more often, I can walk to the kitchen, get a drink in the middle of the night, because I've spent a lot of time here. But when someone's new to the home, we want them to have a good experience in the day as well as in the night. So let me take you downstairs, because we got lots more space for people to live down there.
Was this property purchased specifically to be an Airbnb?
That's a really great question. So I would love to say, especially once you'll see all the numbers, that this was strategically designed as an Airbnb, but actually it wasn't. My fiance had bought the land, and we built this place from scratch. And actually, on our very first date, he brought me out here because he was like, oh, you're into real estate, come see what I'm doing. And it was literally a pile of wood in a big muddy piece of land. But he was intending to leave where he was living before and have this be his primary residence. Both of us are blessed to have 100% virtual careers with our clients on Zoom and phone and that kind of stuff. But after we had been together for a while, it didn't quite make sense. There was a bit of a longer commute, and my place in the city wasn't big enough for both of us. So we actually got another property where we live, and by the time we had made that decision, we had been doing Airbnb for a little while, and it was just, once we saw the numbers, it actually made no sense to live in the property because there's such an opportunity cost of dollars that were coming in. So, I wish I could say, yes, we perfectly designed that this was going to be an Airbnb, but it just unfolded so beautifully. And, now we get to be here and enjoy it, as well as have it be an Airbnb and generate profit for us.
Awesome.
So let me take you downstairs, because we got lots more space for people to live down there. Okay, so come on down here. This space is actually equally as large as the space upstairs. And what you see here, these are actually just the extras in terms of air mattresses and extra space to be able to have people hang out. I know often they have kids playing down here. We had a yoga retreat with some gals one weekend, so I know they had yoga mats and stretching all over the place. But down here we've got, again, same things upstairs, 3 large bedrooms. Again, very clean, very simple. We want to have a nice experience. Again, most people are either outside or on the main level. So if you just want to sneak right in here, you can see it's very similar to the ones that we've got set up upstairs. Honestly, the cool thing is they come in, they send us a text. This place is beautiful. We're so excited. Thank you so much for having us here. And we want to create a great experience for our guests, not only so that they can tell their friends, but this is their hard-earned money and they're on vacation, and we want them to have the absolute best experience when they're in our home.
Vacation Airbnb rentals versus just a normal Airbnb rental. Is there a difference? Like, what sort of amenities do we need to include at a vacation Airbnb rental that we maybe don't need to include at a regular Airbnb?
Yeah, so we ultimately want to have our renters, our clients, have a fabulous experience both on the property and in the surrounding area. So we've got the gorgeous fire pit outside, the volleyball. We actually brought in a whole ton of sand in the backyard.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, all the neighbors have grass, but it's very like a beach format. We've got a little kiddie pool out there in the summer, so lots of great stuff happening on the property itself. And then like for winter, lots of extra blankets. We've got the gorgeous fireplace, so people just want to kind of cuddle up in the winter. But we actually really are also focused on ensuring that they have a great experience when they're not just on the property. So my fiance Andy, who takes care of the communication with all of the folks who are here in the property, he's always messaging and saying like, hey, did you know there's Tim Hortons 10 minutes away, or this is the beach that you want to go to that's a private beach that is only for locals, but if you're staying here you can go and visit there, or here's where you need to pay for parking, or don't take your dog to that beach. So we're really careful to provide that extra kind of local feel so that people here have a great experience, not only inside the home but also enjoying the beautiful area. Georgian Bay is so spectacular, but if you're not a local, you don't necessarily know where all the beach entrances are.
I love it.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you like this video and you want to learn more about Airbnb, private lending, rent to own, or you just want to get into real estate, feel free to find me online with a name like Limor. I'm easy to find. You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Limor_Markman, my website, limor.money, and of course you can always send me an email, limor@limor.money, and that's all Limor. I'm excited to connect with you and help you become even more financially fabulous.
Hey YouTube, did you know that I've got an education company? I'm going to guess you didn't, because a lot of you guys DM me asking if I do. So it's called Cashflow Tribe. You can go to www.cashflowtribe.com, check it out. You can sign up for a completely free membership. There's also a premium membership that has all kinds of great features you can unlock, but just go check out the free membership. You've got a calculator you can use online completely free. You've got Canada's most robust online forums for real estate investors, and you've got some great resources and some free, completely free courses that you can get. And all you need to do is sign up for your free membership. It's an amazing network of Canadian real estate investors, and I hope you guys go grab your free membership today.
Today we're talking about private lending, and we got a great example that we're going to dive into for you guys. But first, private lending, is it just for millionaires?
That's an awesome question, but the answer is actually no. Private lending, somebody who's got money in either a TFSA, an RSP, in cash even, as long as they've got at least $50,000, that is the perfect amount to be able to step in and do your very first deal.
Awesome. Well, let's do an example.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's neat, oh, this isn't it. Hold on a second.
This is from a previous video, guys. Check out, we'll throw it in the video description down below. That was about their Airbnb, and if you didn't see, they're making over $40,000 a year on Airbnb.
It's pretty cool. So what I want to share with you here is how it would work from a number standpoint, because you hear, so you're making anywhere from 9% to 15% return generally on a private lending deal. But when you're like, okay, I'm making 4 or 5%, I'm on mutual funds, my stock market, it's not that different. But actually, with the magic of compound interest, which is what actually, I don't know if you know, Albert Einstein said is the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest, it really switches things up. So here's the example. Let's say
Limor, what is private lending?
private lending is an absolutely amazing strategy. Most people don't know about it. So essentially, it gives us private individuals the opportunity to do exactly what the banks are doing, and the biggest part of their bread and butter is mortgages. They know that if they lend money secured against an asset, a big beautiful home, in a worst case scenario, if that homeowner or investor doesn't pay them back, the bank's going to step in, take over the property, sell it, and be able to recoup their funds. So it's one of the strategies that the banks do that make them the most money, which is exactly why us as private lenders are going to do the exact same thing. Now, the only difference is that the majority of people that we're lending money to can't qualify with the bank. And that's not because they're bad people, they're not bankrupt, but the mortgage rules have gotten so tight, so stringent. Stress tests, you're self-employed, bam, you don't qualify. You have multiple streams of income, bam, you don't qualify. You haven't been in the country long enough, bam, you don't qualify. You're a real estate investor, you know how to make money better than anybody else, bam, you don't qualify. So it means that for us as individuals, we can actually lend the money that's inside of our RSPs, our TFSA. You can absolutely do it in cash, but if you lend it through those accounts, you have tax benefits as well. And what's really interesting, actually, is last year, 2018, 50% of all mortgages were from the A lenders, the green bank, the blue bank, the orange banks,
Yep.
all those guys. You guys know them too. But actually 20% of all mortgages were actually done through private lenders, because there's that many people who are struggling to meet the ever-tightening and challenging criteria of the bank, and they're happy to pay higher interest rates, which we get to earn as investors, and it's generally in the range of 9 to 15% return per year, and people are willing to do that for a year or two to be able to fix their situation or get to a place where they can eventually move to lower interest rates with traditional banks.
Yeah, and can you maybe share with us some avatars of what the average person that's using a private lender looks like? Like, who are the people borrowing?
Yeah, so the people borrowing are just a little bit outside of the sphere of the bank. So self-employed is a huge one. The banks don't like the volatility that their business could go down. A lot of self-employed people are doing great. If you've got money coming from multiple sources, so if you're an employee in a traditional role and you're also making additional income that is a contractor role, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky for the banks to qualify that money, especially if it's been new. Someone's newer to the country. Someone like me, I'm a perfect example, a real estate investor. The banks gave me my 3 mortgages and they're like, Limor, you're SOL. So, if I want to continue to grow my portfolio, that's a great avenue for me. Sometimes people are looking to refinance equity from their property. They have a lot of equity, but in that moment, they maybe don't have a proper paycheck. So maternity leave, if most of your property is paid down, and you go to the bank and you're like, knock, 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 can I please have a home equity line of credit? The bank's like, sure, show me your pay stub. And you're like, I don't have a pay stub. So someone like you or I may be able to see that if they're planning to sell the property in a year, of course they're going to have the money to pay us back, but just because they don't have a traditional paycheck, the bank says absolutely not. But I am more than happy, and I know a lot of my investor clients are more than happy to, offer those funds at anywhere from 9 to 15% per year. So it really makes a lot of difference to our portfolio, and it's pretty cool that this is a segment of the mortgage industry that's ever growing.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I didn't realize that 20% are private lenders.
Yeah, but actually with the magic of compound interest, which is what actually, I don't know if you know, Albert Einstein said is the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest, it really switches things up. So here's the example. Let's say that you're starting with $127,000. And I use that because it's actually the figure that I use for a couple. So 2 people together, you could be in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, doesn't really matter. But you would each have $63,500. And there's a lot of people who've been able to save that over the years, and it's sitting in there and they're like, I don't know what to do with my tax-free tax-free savings account, but they've got this amount together. Then with the tax-free savings account, you can actually contribute, typically on average, about $5,000 per year. So I have an annual addition of $10,000, which is the couple together. And what I'm using here is a 20-year horizon. So private lending is not about quitting your job next week, next month. It's not a get-rich-quick program or strategy, but it can make you a millionaire. So watch this. If you got an interest rate of 4%, which is what a lot of people are making, sadly, with mutual funds or the stock market, or even if you average out the year, so they're like, yes, I made 8% this year, and I'm like, and how much did you make last year? They're like, I lost. Right? So I think it's a fair number to use. When you take this amount, you add $5,000 every year, each person, 20 years of 4% interest, it brings you to $587,000. So lovely, but how far are you going to get? Like, is that really going to make a world of a difference to you? I'm going to say probably not, especially if you're thinking about this as a retirement fund or, you know, the quit your job, live your dream life. You're going to go through that pretty quickly. So what I like to share with people is that if all you do is invest in educating yourself on private lending, there's one little thing that's going to change here in this scenario, and it's going to make a world of magical difference. So again, we start $127,000, a couple, two people, $63,500 each. Every year, they're both adding $5,000, which is the contribution, $10,000, 20 years to grow, 10% interest. So I'm being conservative, anywhere from 9 to 15. This is like a safe deal. Someone's managing it, at least 80% loan to value. But what that's going to do for you with compound interest, I have $1.4 million.
So we've essentially added like $1 million.
1.4. And you know what's so interesting specifically about this number, 1.4? If you've read financial magazines and online articles, the number that financial experts say people need to have an average retirement, this isn't fancy schmancy, but an average retirement is one. Now, what's really cool about this strategy is that there is a ton of security and you're absolutely not a landlord. So let's pretend, and I know you own lots of properties, but one in particular, and you've got a mortgage, okay? And let's say your mortgage is with that green bank. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? So if you have an issue with the property, the toilet is leaking, you know, whatever the challenge is, can you call up the bank and say, hi, Mr. Banker, the toilet is leaking? Like, is that an option?
No.
No. And like, if there's vacancy because it's a rental property, is that the bank's fault? No. So we are going to do exactly what the bank is doing, and why a lot of people like to jump in is because they don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with vacancy or maintenance. People are afraid. And so if you've got some money, you know, stash piled in your bank account, it's not doing too much for you, you can get into real estate in a secure way where you never have to be the landlord. You know what your returns are going to be. When you sign on your mortgage, you know how much you're paying every month, right? So we're going to know as an investor how much money we're going to make every month.
What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah, I love that you asked that, because everybody has to ask that if they're an intelligent investor. Well, we have an opportunity to take over the property. So I actually like to talk about the strategy as the triple backup strategy. So another interesting stat for you is that less than 1% of mortgages in Canada default, first mortgages. And so sometimes we might be a second mortgage, but even if it defaults, there's a first mortgage defaulting as well. So the amount of times a deal goes sideways or we hit this worst case scenario is very minimal, but we do need to prepare in case that happens. So that's why when you're offered a deal, you need to be able to know how to evaluate it. And one of the pieces that we look for that's really important is what we call loan to value. So how much is the mortgage and how much equity or how many dollars does the homeowner actually have? And we want to ensure that we're using the similar guidelines to the bank, which is an 80% loan to value. So we want to ensure there's at least 20% there, so that if we do have to be able to take over the property and then sell it to recoup our own funds, if the market softens a little bit, if it takes a little bit of time, you know, we've got a little bit of legal fees in the process, there's lots of money to recoup our initial amount. and we have the buffer. Now, the third piece of the triple backup is that I actually teach investors to focus on this strategy in Ontario. And I'll tell you why. In Ontario, we have a different foreclosure system than most of the other provinces in Canada. It's actually called power of sale. And in the power of sale, it basically says when you sign a mortgage, if you've ever read all the fine details, and
Never done it.
Never done. You should start doing that. But if you take a look, it'll actually outline in your mortgage exactly what will happen if you don't make a payment. And for Ontario, if we follow through that process, we can actually take possession of the property in as little of 3 months, or up to 6 months is generally the general range.
Okay.
In provinces that are popular for investment like Alberta, British Columbia, they have a system that's called a judicial system, where there's a judge, a manual process who will decide what happens, and being able to take over the property can take 12 to 18 months. So holding costs can be a lot higher, and so because you don't actually have to take care of the property or visit it or have tenants, I actually work with students right across the country, and they predominantly all choose to invest in Ontario because of this third element of security.
Interesting. So we've essentially added like $1 million.
1.4. And you know what's so interesting specifically about this number 1.4? If you've read financial magazines and online articles, the number that financial experts say people need to have an average retirement, this isn't fancy schmancy, but an average retirement is 1.4 million. And how easy is it to save 1.4 million?
Yeah.
Freaking impossible, right? So the only way to do it is to be able to invest at a higher interest rate. So, you know, really cool. Somebody who is 45 years old can be watching this video and saying, shoot, I only have $63,000 in my account. So does my spouse. We have no hope in hell for retiring. But if all they do is transfer that money into private lending as a strategy, which is so secure, backed by an asset, you're completely hands-off, you're not a landlord, you're not dealing with maintenance or vacancy or anything like that, you can create $1.4 million. And what's even cooler is because we're doing this in a magical tax-free savings account, they are not going to pay 1 single cent of tax on this. But the truth is, most people have no idea what to do with a tax-free savings account. But you pair it with private lending and poof, you become a multimillionaire. And you know, if you've got more than this to start, if you've got a longer time horizon, this grows exponentially. And you know, I'd encourage you to jump into a compound interest calculator. You know, go into Google, type in some of these numbers. You know, if you're like this much more aggressive, you go with 11% or 12%, this grows exponentially.
I love it. And it can't be like overstated, the impact of this being tax-free. Like, this is worth so much more than actually 1.5 million.
I would actually say this is close to 3 million.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the other interesting thing. Okay, so let's say that we're 45, okay, we did this together for the next 20 years. At 65 years old, a few things are going to happen.
And so a lot of investors these days like get into real estate investing because they want passive income. What level of workload are we looking at as a private lender?
I love that question. So I think the longest I've ever spent on one deal is 2 hours. It was at home in my fuzzy slippers with my nice cup of coffee, and I do everything on the computer. So unlike a traditional mortgage that you actually have to sign with a lawyer, you can actually sign these documents all digitally as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's 100% virtual. You know, you can look at all the documentation, all the information, because like a bank, you know, someone's applying to borrow your money, right? If they would like, you know, you'd like to see their credit score, bam, you get it. What's the existing mortgage? Bam, you get it. Payment verification, all of that stuff we get to see, and we see it all through documentation virtually. So, you know, when you get good, it's a little bit quicker and you know exactly what you're looking for and what questions to ask. But I could be anywhere in the world. I could be sitting right here at the fire with a laptop on my lap working on a deal. So it's pretty awesome and pretty hands-off. A great way for people to kind of take a first step into real estate, especially if they've got busy lives, you know. There's a lot of folks who have good jobs, they make good income, they're saving money, and you think they have the time or the capacity to flip a house, right? No, they lead very different lives, but it allows them to get into real estate with a really tremendous amount of security and high returns. Like, where are you seeing 9 to 15% backed by real estate?
Yeah.
You're just not. At 65 years old, a few things are going to happen. One, we're doing the retirement thing, you know, conventional society retirement at 65. We're not going to use 1.4 million that first minute.
Yes.
So let's say we take out, I don't know, $80,000 or however much we need to live. Well, we still got a ton of money that's growing at 10%. So if we had a chart here, because I love Excels, and if we had a fancy one that we were looking at, you would see that even though you're taking the $80,000 out, just a random number that I chose, your total net worth actually continues to go up, which means that you're not needing to organize or financially prepare for your life, where, you know, a lot of financial planners say you have to have the maximum amount of money you're ever going to have at 65 because you're growing your net worth, you hit 65, you stop your income, and then it starts going down, and like, hope you don't die before you run out of money. But with this scenario, you're actually, depending on how much you're taking out, but in most cases, actually continuing to grow your wealth, which means A, you don't have to worry about running out of money, and B, wouldn't it be beautiful to leave a legacy for your kids or through charitable donation? There's some pretty cool things that we can do if we've got some extra funds saved for us.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And so essentially, like, if we didn't want to touch the principal, we could spend $150,000 a year and leave the principal untouched. Absolutely love it.
Right? And like, you're starting with $63,000. So anybody can do this. You don't need to be a multi-millionaire to be able to do this. But, you know, the important thing I would say is, A, get yourself educated and understand the strategy properly. And that's one of the things that I do. I teach investors how to do the strategy and evaluate a deal, because I've heard of investors, they'll go to a mortgage broker, they'll get offered a deal, and it's trying to show what the average person is still looking at. But the mortgage broker will say, oh, I have a great deal, 12% return, and the investor, no experience, doesn't know what to look for, and they go to the mortgage broker and they're like, is this a good deal? And the mortgage broker put it together. So they're like, of course it's a good deal, but what's a good deal for you and a good deal for me can be very, very different. So, you know, I think that the power is magical if the investor knows how to evaluate the deal and knows that they are safe and secure, and that's what I specialize in helping people with.
Awesome, love it. Thank you so much, Limor.
Yeah, of course.
Anything else we should know about private lending?
It's just an undercover strategy, and what's interesting is that some of the big banks used to allow us to do this years gone by. The last one stopped about 12 years ago because we are making the money rather than them. So to be able to facilitate these transactions, there's a few slightly smaller financial institutions. So we need to know exactly what we're doing, how to evaluate the deal, you know, what do the legal contracts look like, but it's not that steep of a learning curve if you're willing to invest in yourself, and then like, whew, you can just take off in terms of what your financial freedom can look like. Hey guys, if you want to learn more about private lending, rent-to-owns, or other ways to get into real estate, or you just want to follow me online, check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Limor_Markman, or on my website, limor.money. Yep, that's .money, not .money.com. Or you can always pop me an email, limor@limor.money. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you and helping you be even more financially fabulous.
Thanks again to Limor for taking the time to let us shoot that series of videos. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and just a reminder, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to my YouTube channel. In fact, we've got hours of these compilation videos now that you can check out on this playlist, or if you just want some great educational videos, check out this playlist right here. I'll see you guys in the next video.